sending me you, my love. You found your home, it's here with me, and I'm here with you.
Kile ambacho Dhulkarnain aliweza kukifanya ama kukisema baada ya muujiza ambao Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alitekeleza na kumwezesha kuwasaidia waja wake kutokana na dhulma za Ya'juj wal Ma'juj, aliweza kusema kuwa si yeye ambaye alikitekeleza kile ambacho alikifanya. Alisema ni kutokana na busara aliyopewa na kujaliwa na Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Kwa na wewe ndugu yangu, chochote alichokupatia Allah, kazi unaoifanya, ukisucceed, ukifaulu, sema maneno kama haya, qala hadha rahmatu min rabbi.
These are the moments we live for every Friday as we catch up with the world of football.
Manchester City go in front.
With your favorite stars in rivalries like no other that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Learn a few tricks that keep you ahead of the game and spice it all with unforgettable moments on Dunda Dunda. On Saturday, you're in for another treat as we rock your weekend with all sporting disciplines, bringing you insights on what's happening behind the scenes as we share players and athlete stories, preparations, and celebrate their achievements.
Charging to the line! Is it going to be a world record? Yes, it is! She smashed it!
Whatever angle you look at, we've got you covered. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Zito.
Sikiza. Kwanza, uko kwa ofisi yangu, so punguza sauti yako.
Mr. Zito, kibali tuko nacho ndo hichi hapa, kutoa katika mjengo. Na kama itashindikana tutatumia nguvu, hata polisi tutaita.
Iteni polisi na mimi nitaita polisi wangu.
Nisikize Mr. Zito. Hautashinda kunizungusha mimi hapa ndani kama mtoto mdogo.
Sasa wewe badala kuja na suluhisho unakuja na maswali zaidi. Unazidi kunipatia matatizo.
Only 21 days. Failure to that, ninashika mali zako zote. Usiku.
Well, it is the last day of the month of October 2023. Welcome to our broadcast. This is KBC Channel 1 Lunchtime News. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. My co-anchor this afternoon is Susan Thuku. We are also focusing on our wall-to-wall coverage of the royal visit, as well as the KCPE KEPSE examinations as they enter day 2. And of course, on the security front, we do have the Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki in Baringo, to assess the latest part of attacks in that particular region. We have that and so much more for the next 1 hour. So do stick around, and of course you can interact with us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1, at Abdiaziz Hashim 1. Now, to that particular royal visit, which is our top story this particular afternoon, I want to take you live to State House, Nairobi, where I do understand we have our reporter, that is O'Brien. We do know that the King Charles III as well as Queen Camilla received a 21-gun salute. What else have you been able to gather, O'Brien, if you can hear me?
Well, thank you very much, Abdiaziz Hashim, back there in Broadcasting House. We are still camping here at the State House in Nairobi, where President William Ruto has just returned, and he has just gone inside his residential office, his official residence here at the State House. He had, of course, accompanied King Charles III and Queen Camilla to Uhuru Gardens, where the King is visiting, and now he has just returned to his official residence here to continue with other business of the day. The area alone, there was the meeting between King Charles III and President William Ruto. King Charles arrived here at State House at about 10:40, and he inspected a guard of honor, and he was accompanied by his wife, Queen Camilla. King Charles inspected a guard of honor mounted by the Kenya Army, and then thereafter there was a photo opportunity before the two retreated for bilaterals and for what the British authorities are saying it was a tete-a-tete between the two leaders. a lot of people are expecting that, probably maybe King Charles is going to sign various agreements with Kenya. Unfortunately, this is not the case because remember, King Charles is just but a constitutional monarchy, and so he doesn't have any legal powers to sign a trade agreement, political agreements with any country. That is the work of the Prime Minister, in this case, Rishi Sunak. And we all remember that President William Ruto, earlier this year, there was a meeting between Rishi Sunak and our president, where various agreements were signed. But this visit by King Charles is symbolic in the fact that it is the first overseas trip by King Charles to a Commonwealth country, and of course the first trip outside Europe. This is his fourth trip to a foreign nation. The first one was to Germany for obvious reasons, bearing in mind that Germany is the largest economy in the Europe. Then France was second, and then Romania. And now, for the first time in Africa, as the king, he has made Kenya his first stopover. As a prince, he has visited Kenya 4 times, and so this is the first time that he's visiting Kenya as the king of the UK, as well as the head of a Commonwealth, which is a grouping of about 56 countries. This meeting is seen as very critical to cement the relationship between UK and its Commonwealth counterparts at a time when in the last how many years? In the last 70 years, we have seen about 17 former Commonwealth country member states, withdrawing from this grouping, and it is expected that more countries will continue to withdraw from Commonwealth. Already, we have seen Jamaica saying that they have plans to opt out of the Commonwealth, and of course to form their own government. Remember, King Charles is still the head of government for a number of Commonwealth countries. It is not the case here in Kenya, but for countries like Jamaica, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, he's still the head of the government. And so we are expecting that, some of the things that will be discussed during this meeting, and of course during future meetings, is how to strengthen the Commonwealth and of course make it more relevant going forward at a time when, there is a reorganization of the global order based on a number of emerging issues. Other things that, King Charles is expected to discuss here with various stakeholders, including the issues around climate change. He's very fond of issues around climate change, as well as animal welfare. And one of the trips, or one of the visit planned, is to the Kenya Society for the Protection of Animals, which is based in Karen, where it's a voluntary organization that takes care of animals, or for the protection of animals against cruelty. So those are some of the issues that King Charles is expected to undertake here in Kenya. And of course, before he leaves on Thursday, he's expected to fly to the port city of Mombasa, where he's going to meet members of the UK Royal Marines. Well, we could go on and on, but remember, the big banquet is happening tonight. Just in front of me here is where the big tent has been set up for the banquet. I'm taking you back to Broadcasting House, to Abdiaziz Hashim. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. That is our senior reporter, O'Brien, there reporting from State House, just giving us a rundown of the initial meeting between the President William Ruto and King Charles III alongside his Queen Camilla. And of course, from there, the President, as well as his convoy from the national government, as well as Queen Camilla and King Charles III, proceeded to Uhuru Gardens. Of course, you saw earlier our reporter Regina Manyaro reporting there on what was happening, a ceremony at the tomb of the unknown warrior, water off the Mugumo tree, and of course visit the Mashujaa Museum, which we saw. And of course they'll be heading over back once they finish from the Uhuru Gardens. They'll be heading over to Makadara Huduma Center, where the Majesty's King Charles III and Queen Camilla, accompanied by the escort of honor, arrived at the at the Makadora Huduma Center. Those were the initial pictures where President William Ruto, of course, hosted the King Charles III at Uhuru Gardens. As I told you, the initial plan was to visit the unknown warrior tomb and, of course, water the Mugumo tree, and finally the Mashujaa Museum, where you do know that the king was, of course, shown what happened in the early 1901 till 1963 since Kenya got independent. And that is the newly refurbished Uhuru Gardens. And of course, we're keeping tabs, not just from the Uhuru Gardens. We have a contingent of teams reporting in various parts of the country into this particular royal visit. Now, to more other news, where the Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Professor Kithure Kindiki, has visited Baringo County to assess the security situation in the region as the national examinations enters day 2. Kindiki held a meeting with security teams in the region led by Rift Valley Regional Commissioner in Loruk, Baringo North constituency. The visitor comes against the backdrop of incidences of livestock theft and sporadic violence in the region.
The area ICC, so they just introduced themselves. Which one they Thank you. One is my name is SP Fred Oreni, RG Commander.
Now let's come back here to the capital, where the government says that all measures have been put in place to protect the integrity of the ongoing national examinations. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu says there have been no major incidences and that the multi-sector approach to the exercise is proving effective in dealing with all emerging issues.
It is day 2 of the national examinations, and the government says the center is holding. Speaking when he inspected the exercise in Kibra, Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu said everything is smooth so far.
All is going well. I must say that we have not had any ugly incident so far.
The Kenya Certificate of Primary Education candidates will write 3 papers, while their Kenya Primary School Education Assessment colleagues sat for 2 papers on Tuesday. Security has been beefed up in volatile areas to ensure candidates write the historic exam.
The government will continue tightening the security measures in those particular areas of the country. And of course, for government to be able to manage, we ask the local communities also to come forward and give intelligence and information to government so that we can be able to combat and counter those bad elements within our society.
Machogu said the exercise has been shielded against malpractice.
We've not had any single incident of malpractice or cheating anywhere within the country in all our centers. And this is partly because of the kind of measures that we have been able to put in place.
The exams will end on Wednesday.
As the national examinations enter its second day, the Ministry of Education has now assured the public of exam integrity across all levels in the country. Parsai Frederick, reporting for KBC Channel 1, Olympic Primary School, Nairobi.
Not just here in the capital, we're keeping an eye on various parts of the country as the KCP and Kepsea enters day 2. Now to a tragic story where a mechanic at a Ruby's petrol station in Narok County died on the spot after a tire he was repairing burst and threw him into the air before landing on his head. Narok Central Sub-County Police Commander John Momanyi urged mechanics to wear protective gears like helmets so as to prevent such an occurrence in future. The body of the deceased was taken to the Narok County Referral Hospital mortuary as the family prepares to bury the remains of their relative.
Na lile urudumu likaweza kupasuka. Hiyo impact ndio ilimuweza kumurusha juu, na wakati ilimurusha juu aliporudi chini akaanguka kwa bahati mbaya na kichwa ikatangulia chini. Akapata majeraha na kwa bahati mbaya alikufia pale pale. Hakuweza kufikishwa hospitali. Ili tuweze kutoa tahadhari kwa wale wote ambao labda wako na garages, wale watu ambao wako na petrol stations ambapo kazi ya aina hii inafanyika. Ni muhimu kuhakikisha ya kwamba wametake precautions na wameweka vifaa kama vile vya kuzima moto, fire extinguishers ziwekwe pale, kama ni hizo helmets waweze kuweka pale kwa sababu ajali wakati inaweza kutokea, na inapotokea itakuwa minimize yale majeraha ambayo mtu anaweza kupata.
Also, police officers in Kakamega town have apprehended 7 suspects, including young men and women from various universities who were allegedly caught engaging in explicit content production at an apartment in Muyala Ward, Shweye sub-county. While confirming the incident, Kakamega County Police Commander Joseph Kigen said that the 7 students were found in possession of adult videos, mobile phones and other items they use in creating adult explicit films. The police boss added that the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, was taking up the matter and an investigation has been launched. The suspects were taken into custody pending interrogation.
Mimi naweza ambia wanafunzi wa MUST kama wamekaa kusoma au wasome tu. Huwezi survive na vitu mbili at one time. Hao wasichana huwa hawavai vizuri, huwa wanavaa tule tu miniskirt. Tukupewa watu matama hivi. Sasa unajua wenye magorofa hao wametarget pesa. Juu ndio maana wamege vitu hapo ya biashara. So waangalie waweze kuchunga kama uko na below over 18 au kufuatilia.
Niambia tu madam kitu amefanya ni kitu mbaya. Na nikaonyesha picha tena kwa watoto wadogo. Mzazi anajua umeenda shule kusoma, then anasikia umefanya kitu fulani.
Na vitu zenye wanashughulika nazo ni vitu ambazo hazifurahishi sisi kama wakaaji wa hapa Muyala hapa. Kwa sababu kuna watoto, shule ziko hapa, kuna primary hapa karibu na hii gorofa.
Now to the corridors of the Augusta House, where the National Assembly Committee on Blue Economy, Water and Sanitation has expressed concerns over the suspension of works at the 19.8 billion Korusoin Dam in Kisumu and Kericho counties. Members of the committee who visited the site on the border of Kisumu and Kericho to ascertain the project status said the move was likely to delay the project, which was set to be completed in 2027.
We have seen that it is a project that needs to be completed and completed fast.
This is a huge setback, not just for the people of this area, but for the entire nation of Kenya. What we are going to do from here on in is to ensure that we play ambassador for the Korusoin project.
And of course, we're taking our first commercial break. It's just 26 past the hour. On the other side of the break, we'll be discussing the upcoming 30th edition of the Engineers Institution of Kenya International Convention, which will be held in Mombasa from the 14th all the way to the 17th. In studio with us this particular afternoon is Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, who is the council member and former president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. We'll be having that particular conversation after this short commercial break. Don't go too far.
Umekuja mapema.
Nakwambia siku hizi barabara ni nywe.
Kenya Roads Board is committed to ensure an efficient road network for a prosperous nation. Your fuel levy at work.
But you don't know how hard it is that Uriel isn't with me. That's the worst thing that can happen to a pregnant woman.
Our marriage is falling apart and you don't care at all.
Enough!
What now?
I said that's enough, Teresa.
I think it's a great idea. Teresa has come like a gift from heaven.
You want to make sure that I don't see Isabel. What's the matter? Stop it!
We're preparing everything, Carolina. Are you really sure this is what you want to do?
Christine.
Yes, can you please open? Trish, huyo mwanamke hata ingia hapa bila ruhusa. I'm willing to give up on Pete.
Mimi sioni kama Pete anataka kuachana na Christine.
My dear, kwa street upewangi bwana. Unachukuanga bwana.
Na Jackie unachukia Jane?
Wacha niwachie hapo, sitaki maneno.
Aniambie tu Jackie.
Nini umemwambia kunihusu? Hakuna, only good things.
So when are you guys tying the knot?
Yes, babe, when are we tying the knot?
Marriage si rahisi.
Wewe mwenyewe marriage yako haijai work. Sasa hizi advice zote unanipeanga ni za nini? Haya. No more trouble in paradise.
Trish, how are you feeling?
Vengeful.
Told you we'll be having a conversation on the upcoming 30th edition of the Engineers Institution of Kenya International Convention Center, which is slated for the 14th all the way to the 17th of November in Mombasa County. We do anticipate over 3,000 engineers flocking to the coastal city from Kenya continentally as well as the world at large. That's why we're having this particular conversation this afternoon. And of course, joining us on this particular set on the business segment is Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, the council member and former president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. You can also be part of the conversation. Talk to us on our social media platforms at Abdiaziz Hashim as well as at KBC Channel 1. Welcome, Engineer.
Thank you, Abdi.
And of course, we'll be coming to you in just a few. Engineer, let's give our viewers a little bit of perspective on this particular convention that is upcoming in Mombasa all the way from the 14th to the 17th. We also do hear that the engineers will be launching an initial convention They'll be launching a new convention on the 2nd here in the capital. But before we get to that particular interview, let's take a look at the stories making headlines in the world of business. The International Committee for Development of Peoples is investing $500 million to train 24 University of Nairobi students on addressing social challenges. Now, the move is aimed at providing a platform for community change in reducing harmful social behaviors like gender-based violence, while at the same time maintaining the dignity of those affected. Now, the social norms courses are jointly being implemented by the International Committee for Development of Peoples and UNICEF in 25 countries, including Kenya, Mozambique, Zambia, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Somalia, as well as Uganda.
The 2 weeks training on social norm change, programming and measurement is very key, because there are drivers behind the decisions we make to practice, to behave, to act. And some of these drivers for a long time have been behind some of the harmful practices that have violated the rights of people, the rights of women, the rights of girls, the rights of children. These are the norms, social norms, that we intend to interrogate during the first week, 5 days, on what we call diagnosis of social norm.
So the program that we are implementing has a budget of $500,000 for 1 year implementation, and it includes the delivering of social norms training at country level in agreement with UNICEF country offices, as I said before, to local CSOs and government officials. Then there was a component on experimenting specific methodologies for social norms change programming, such as using of arts, different type of arts, to boost social norms change.
Now, to that interview that I just promised you a while ago, over 3,000 engineers will be flocking to the coastal city on the 14th all the way to the 17th for this year's 30th edition of the Engineers Institution of Kenya International Convention. And of course, here with me in studio this afternoon is Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, the council member and the former president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, of course, a renowned figure here in our studios. So, Engineer, the first question is, what should the viewers look for in that particular convention center that will be held in Mombasa?
Thank you very much, Abdi, for that question. But before I answer your question, I'll just remind the rest of Kenyans that, and also join on behalf of the engineers in Kenya to welcome the King Charles to the country for the visit, and remind all of us that the Institution of Engineers of Kenya is also a member of the Commonwealth Engineers Council, which is one of the organizations whose patron is King Charles. So back to your question, every year the Institution of Engineers of Kenya organizes a convention where we get our members to come together to share the international best practices, and we also have the international visitors coming to educate us. And this year we are actually a privilege that alongside the 30th IEK International Convention, we are also hosting the General Assembly of the World Council of Civil Engineers. So we have the world, all the participants in engineering in Kenya. They will be in Mombasa from the 14th to 17th. So we expect at the end of the day, Kenya will come out quite enriched, because you will be associating, you'll get a lifetime experience to associate with the best brains in the world in the field of engineering. We get our members, those who can physically, to be in Mombasa. We urge all of them to join us, because this is a chance that you should not miss. It's a lifetime chance to have all these world leaders in our country, and we are privileged as Kenya that we got this chance. It's the first that it's having to host the world engineers, the World Council of Civil Engineers in Kenya. So we are privileged. The country, actually, the Institution of Engineers bid among others for this, and we are very privileged that we have come. Of course, there will be some attendance benefits, of course, tourism and everything. But as engineers, we shall have a lifetime chance to experience and ask questions, because these people will be presenting us papers. We have a whole schedule of activities from paper, panel discussions, we shall also get all the let's say the chief executive officers of engineering organizations in Kenya, from parastatals to private sector, to have panel discussions with us, so that we get to discuss what is ailing the country and how we can improve it. What can we do differently moving forward?
Also looking at it, Mr. Nathaniel, technology plays a bigger role in the engineering profession. How are you going to leverage it in the backdrop of this particular IEK 30th edition convention?
You know, you cannot learn about technology. It's a bit hard. You just have to experience it. The best is
maybe how do you adapt to it?
How do you adapt to it? How do you find how to leverage? The unfortunate incident that just happened at a petrol station that you just reported about, unfortunately, and my condolences to the person who died, should not have happened if that petrol station was taking advantage of technology. You are not supposed to do some work in an exposed bare environment. So you're supposed to have processes, put safety processes in place. And here we can take advantage of technology. The better bottom-up approach of our current government has the core of the bottom-up approach. If we want to actualize it, is for us to embrace technology. And engineering is about technological issues. How do we take advantage of technology to do the way we do things differently, to do things in an easier way, in a simpler way, and in a cost-effective way? You realize previously we used to have a lot of people working on a construction site, people with access and jembes digging.
Yeah.
But now you can get an excavator to come and excavate for you a trench. And then you will go to a batching plant, get concrete mixed there. It comes on a truck and then you pour it quickly. So we need, as a country, to leverage our technologies. And the best countries that have really leveraged our technology are the developed world. So that's why, as a country, we take advantage of this session to bring them here. And maybe if they see the way we are doing things, they'll be able to advise us, tell us how to do it. And we hope with time, some of us will have the advantage of traveling to see how, in a fact-finding mission in these countries, so that they can come and help the country move forward. But we need it because our economy is a lot on agricultural. And if we continue practicing agriculture the traditional way, there's no way we are going to have the critical food to feed our people. So we need to embrace technology. We should not be worried.
Yes.
Like, the tea pickers in Kericho say, oh, you don't want to have the tea picking machines. Not knowing that if you pick tea with your hands, and now you are upgraded to be the driver of that machine, you're going to have an easier life and even earn a better salary. So we should all embrace technology. It is here to improve our lives and help us do things in a cost-effective way.
As they say, change is inevitable indeed.
Definitely
But the other issue is IK. Is it working closely, especially given that you have a vast wealth of experience in the engineering sector? Are you working with institutions to refine some of the curriculum within those institutions to meet the current demands of the job market for engineers?
In fact, that is one of the core activities. The engineering in Kenya is regulated, and the regulator of engineering in Kenya is, we have two. For engineers is the Engineers Board of Kenya, and for technicians and technologists is the Board of Technicians and Technologists. So what we are doing now to try to advance is to help universities make their programs, to adopt their programs to the needs of the country, and then help them make sure that our graduates and the practice of engineering in this country is up to the world's standard. The board is in the process of trying to assure the world that what is happening in this country is up to speed. It's up to international standards. And the way the board is trying to do this is to apply to join what is called the International Engineering Alliance. For engineers, it is the Washington Accord. So if the Engineers Board of Kenya gets to sign the Washington Accord, they will be assuring the world that, look, what we are doing in Kenya is the best practice for us as a country and also for the rest of the world. And then the Board of Technicians and Technologists should also sign the Dublin and the Sydney Accord so that they can also assure the rest of the world. With that, what will be happening is that we would hopefully lobby government to accept that we need budget for our universities to carry out research and development, so that what our industry needs is what is being taught in these universities. Going to university to do engineering, as much as we might want to call it an academic exercise, but it's not quite, because it's supposed to equip you with a skill. That when you come out of university, you are supposed to help the country move forward, and that skill should also be able to put food on the table. So it's not really an academic exercise in engineering. It's a physical activity, and you know that when you ask me, an engineer, you want to say, what do I do? And that's why I'm able to identify with that accident that we report. That's an engineering activity. Mechanical automotive engineers are supposed to put systems in place to ensure that workers are working on a safe environment. And we should not take chances that are costing us lives. You've seen instances where, unfortunately, buildings collapse. But if the building has an engineer, the engineer is supposed to ensure that that construction is done in a safe way so that lives are not lost. And therefore, we should leverage on technology, take advantage of how we can use our resources in the best way possible without wasting them, without losing life, and without also carrying out bad investments that are not value for the money that we are putting in this.
Okay, given that, engineer, we're running out of time. The reason why I asked you that particular question is that we have 25,000 graduates every year from that particular sector, and only 2,500 are employed. Where do these other students go as you wind up?
Yeah. And unfortunately, when a student graduates from engineering, we've had challenges that they don't get a ready job in engineering. The main employer of engineers in this country is government. When I was at university, all engineers used to get employed by government. But I think there was some advisory from the World Bank that froze employment.
Yeah.
So we've suffered a great deal that students graduating from engineering programs don't get ready work. And without getting work where you get professional experience, it will not be, you have to put food on the table, and therefore many of these end up looking for other ways of survival. So if the government was to put systems in place so that all work infrastructure projects that are going on, they have local content. The law is there, it's supposed to be 40% local content. But unfortunately, because of the issues surrounding procurement, the issues surrounding financing, some of these don't end up accommodating the local content. And therefore, our young people are not able to secure employment. And without securing employment, of course, you cannot remain in engineering. You end up doing things that will be able to assist you.
Okay.
So we urge all the players, all the parastatals, when they are procuring, especially infrastructure projects, let them put in place, set aside a percentage of that project to be for internship programs, for jobs for engineers in this country. And we need them, because if we don't create the critical mass for development by locals, we cannot depend on foreigners for developing our country. And the time is now, because the government is aware, the president is listening to us, and he's saying, tell me how to do it. So we are ready to give a lead, to take a lead in this, and lead the government in all, even this housing project. If we do it well, it will be a big employer of these young people. Yes, the construction of road projects, the construction of dams that they're talking about, water supply projects, those are big projects, but we need the local people to be involved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
so much. That is Engineer Nathaniel Matalanga, the council member and former president of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. Thank you for making time for KBC Channel 1 this lovely afternoon. And of course, the message by Nathaniel is that you don't have to wait to be employed. Of course, innovate. That is the only way you can be able to make a living in this particular lifetime. Now, to more news on the business front is that plans are underway to train local manufacturers on the different standards required in the key markets in efforts to boost exports. Now, the training will aim at ensuring the local products meet international standards in order for local manufacturers to enhance their global competitiveness. This was the key message during the launch of the 6th edition of the Changamka Shopping Festival 2023 at the Kenyatta International Convention Center here in the capital.
Kenya must commit to building, creating, adding value, and taking pride in locally produced goods.
The government has directed that every government agency, whether you are a state corporation, whether you are a state department, that you must buy up to 40% of all your products in a year must buy locally made Kenyan products.
Well, to more news now, the Bank of Japan announced a further adjustment to the yield curve control policy, allowing the 10-year Japanese government bond yields to increase the above 1% in a move that follows chronic weakening of the yen. Now, the development is significant as the Central Bank of Japan has long maintained its yield and the curve control policy, a strategy of buying up government bonds to control the interest rate. Here are the details and other stories making headlines on the global front.
Since July, Japan's long-term interest rate has been capped at 1%, an increase over the previous ceiling of 0.5%. The move is in response to inflation pressures and volatility concerns. The latest yield curve control policy has left the Bank of Japan out of step with the interest rate hikes set by other major central banks. This has been criticized as leading to market distortions and weakening the yen. Widening interest rate gaps between Japan and other markets have driven down the yen's value and reduced overseas spending power. Inbound tourists have enjoyed higher spending power in Japan, but for workers facing slow wage increases and dwindling spending power, the depreciation has been viewed unfavorably. Elsewhere, Samsung Electronics will continue to cut production to ease a chip supply glut and gear up for 2024 when it expects industry-wide investment and production to focus on high-end chips for generative artificial intelligence. Samsung has slashed chip output this year to weather an unprecedented industry downturn and flagged further production adjustments, especially for NAND flash memory chips as the market starts to recover. The proliferation of on-device AI functions will increase the appetite for DRAM chips such as high bandwidth memory in 2024. Samsung reported operating profit of 2.4 trillion won for the September quarter, 78% lower than a year prior. Finally, China is set to import record volumes of wheat this year after rain damaged its crop and worries over dry weather in exporting nations. China, which is the world's biggest wheat producer and consumer, bought around 2 million metric tons of Australian wheat this month for shipment starting in December. It has also booked about 2.5 million metric tons of French wheat since September for December-March shipment. China has said its wheat crop shrunk 0.9% this year to 134.5 million tons, the first decline in 7 years despite expanded acreage after heavy rain battered mature grain in the key growing regions.
Welcome to the world of sports. The national 15s rugby team, Kenya Simba's assistant coach Carlos Katwa, is optimistic his charges are up to the task when they face Zambia in the Victoria Cup tournament on Wednesday at the Kyadondo Rugby Club in Kampala, Uganda. The 5-day tournament will end on Sunday.
The Kenyan Simbas arrived in Kampala on Monday and have been training at Kyadondo, Kampala ahead of their clash with Zambia. Assistant coach Carlos Katwa said the team is ready for the battle against Zambia.
We prepared very sufficiently, prepared very hard. We've tried to implement everything, but I think it's just a continuation of where we left off the last time we assembled. So the guys are looking sharp.
The two sides met in 2019 in the same tournament, where the Kenyan side emerged victorious after thrashing Zambia 31-6. Keeper George Nyambua will spearhead the Kenyan charges against Zambia. Simba will play host to Uganda in their next match of the Victoria Cup on Sunday. The tie between the two East African rivals will also act as the fixture opener of the Elgon Cup. The Elgon Cup return leg will be played in Kisumu on 11th November. For Lunchtime News, I'm Sela Unyango.
Now to Europe, where Argentina and Inter Miami forward Lionel Messi won the men's Ballon d'Or for the record 8th time in Paris, France. Meanwhile, Spain and Barcelona midfielder Aitana Bonmati bagged the women's Ballon d'Or award.
The Ballon d'Or France footballer is Lionel Messi.
For the 8th time in his career.
Messi won his record-extending Ballon d'Or award ahead of Manchester City's forward Erling Haaland as France forward Kylian Mbappe finished third. Messi has now won 3 more Ballon d'Or awards than any other footballer in history, with Cristiano Ronaldo having won it 5 times, most recently in 2017.
This chapter in the career of one of the game's finest footballers.
Women's Ballon d'Or 2023 goes to Aitana Bonmati.
Meanwhile, 25-year-old Aitana Bonmati won her first Ballon d'Or as she enjoyed a hugely successful year, helping her club triumph in the Spanish top flight and Champions League and her country win the World Cup in the summer.
Ladies and gentlemen, the women's Ballon d'Or of this year.
Trophy winner
Le trophée Gerd-Müller est remis à Erling Haaland.
Manchester City forward Erling Haaland bagged the Gerd-Müller trophy after scoring a record 56 goals. Argentina World Cup winner and Aston Villa goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez won the Hashim Trophy for the best goalkeeper in the world. England and Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham won the Copa Trophy for the world's best player aged under 21. Bellingham was picked ahead of Bayern Munich's Jamal Musiala, with former winners Barcelona pair Gavi and Pedri, as well as Real teammate Eduardo Camavinga, also up for the award.
And the winner is le club ayant le plus de nominés au Ballon d'Or. Et le vainqueur.
Manchester City and Barcelona women's team were named the best teams of the year as Real Madrid winger Vinicius Jr. received the Socrates Award for his contribution off the field in the fight against racism.
C'est Vinicius Jr. du prix Socrates. Instituto Vinu Jr. and the goal of his foundation is helping underprivileged.
The Messi and Ronaldo has come to an end, and of course we are waiting to see what will happen during the era of Erling Haaland and Vinicius Jr. as well as Mbappe. Elsewhere, a last-gasp penalty by Ciro Immobile gave Lazio a 1-0 win over Fiorentina at Stadio Olimpico. The loss denied Vincenzo's Italian side a spot in the Serie A top 4.
Points! Buries it!
Lazio captain Immobile struck low into the left of the net in stoppage time, sending Fiorentina goalkeeper Pietro